Welcome back, everyone. Today we're joining James on a fateful night that will change everything. In the shadows of a dilapidated shack, a confrontation between two men rips open the darkest pages of the past. James, a successful businessman, and Mr. Hung, a weathered and mysterious father figure. The detective dropped a bombshell. Diep's mother is still alive. She didn't die. She's right here in this city. But why did Mr. Hung tremble at the mention of Huan, James's biological father? Why does he insist Diep's mother abandoned her child out of greed, while his eyes betray nothing but fear and evasion? What is the hidden truth behind that woman's departure? And the most shocking detail of all, did the timeline of the romance between James's father and Diep's mother coincide with Diep's birth? A deal with the devil, a tragic affair from 20 years ago, is resurfacing, threatening to destroy everything. Curious yet, the truth lies right in this video. Don't forget to comment with your theories, and most importantly, smash that subscribe button right now, so you don't miss the insane plot twists coming up. Now let's ride with James into the dark heart of the truth. The town of Mist was buried in a bone-chilling cold today. The sky was gray like a heavy lead curtain pressing down on the old corrugated iron roofs. At the small industrial park on the edge of town, the lights were still on in James's wood workshop, even though it was well past closing time. Sawmills roared and sawdust floated in the air like golden dust motes. James stood in his glass-walled office on the second floor, looking down at the production line running at full capacity. He wore a flannel shirt with sleeves rolled up, revealing muscular arms, holding a steaming cup of black coffee. But James's mind wasn't on those expensive logs of ironwood or oak. His eyes were glued to the phone sitting on his cluttered desk. He was waiting for a fateful call. For 2 weeks now, James had hired the city's best team of private investigators to reopen the file on Diep's missing mother. Diep the girl, with eyes as sad as an autumn lake, had never told him about her mother. But James knew it was a wound in her heart that had never healed. Every time he saw Diep stare blankly at other children being picked up from school by their mums, his heart ached. He was determined to find the truth, no matter how cruel it might be. Ring! Ring! The phone rang, tearing through the silence of the office. James snatched it up immediately. Hello, James speaking. On the other end was the raspy voice of Detective Vin. Boss James, we have news. But it's not good news. She didn't just leave. Old residency records show she actually returned to this town 5 years ago, but then vanished overnight. And more importantly, James gripped his cup tighter. What's more important? Diep's father, Mr. Hung. He just returned this morning from harvesting agar wood at the border. I think he's the only one holding the key to this case. But you have to hurry. Looks like Hung is planning to sell the house and move on. James hung up. He grabbed his leather jacket and hurried downstairs. Foreman, let the guys off early. Lock up tight. I have an emergency. Without waiting for a reply, James rushed to the yard where his glossy black Ford Ranger sat silently like a predator. The pickup truck shot into the night, its headlights cutting 2 brilliant beams through the thick fog. James gripped the steering wheel, eyes fixed ahead. The road to Diep's father's house wasn't smooth asphalt. It was a muddy red dirt track full of potholes and tree roots. But his high-clearance truck devoured every obstacle just like the personality of its owner. Nothing could stand in his way. In the quiet cabin, James recalled Diep's look from yesterday. She was sewing a torn shirt, smiling, but her eyes were welling up as she looked at the only blurry photo she had with her mother. Why did she leave? Why leave a 5-year-old child alone in the world? Was it poverty, or was it for some darker reason? James wondered. He wasn't doing this for Diep's gratitude. He was doing it to give her back her peace of mind. He wanted Diep to know she wasn't discarded, or at least she deserved to know why she was left behind. The deeper he drove into the poor riverside labor district, the harder the road became. Dry branches scraped against the truck's body, screeching. James slowed down. Before him stood a dilapidated shack, its lime walls peeling in patches, nestled in a withered banana garden. Unlike the usual bustle today, the house looked strangely gloomy. A flickering light shone from the smoky kitchen. James killed the engine. The space plunged into silence. He took a deep breath of the freezing air, mixed with the smell of mud, adjusted his collar, and stepped out. Inside the house, the air was thick with the smell of strong tobacco and moldy clothes. Mr. Hung Diep's father sat hugging his knees on the bamboo cot nestled close to the kitchen fire in the middle of the house. His face was gaunt, his skin bronzed and weather-beaten by the border sun and wind, with deep wrinkles carved into it like cracks in a drought-stricken field. He wore a worn-out cotton coat, his large calloused hands hovering over the red flames for warmth. Tuan Diep's younger brother was busy boiling a kettle of water. The boy was only 15, but looked mature for his age. His eyes were innocent yet haunted by a lingering anxiety. "Dad," Tuan spoke up timidly. "While you were away these past few days, a man named James kept coming to look for you. He drives a huge car, looks really fancy. Every day he parks in front of the gate for an hour before leaving." Mr. Hung didn't look up. His eyes remained glued to the dancing flames. "What does he want with me? I don't owe anyone anything. Or is it one of your mother's old creditors?" "No, Dad." Tuan waved his hands. "He's very polite. He even gave me money for school books. He said he's a friend of Diep. He wants to meet you to ask about something important." Mr. Hung froze. His cloudy eyes suddenly wavered. The name Diep pricked his mind like a needle. How long had it been since he saw his eldest daughter, since the day that woman left this family? Shattered. He threw himself into endless trips to the forest to escape reality, leaving Diep to fend for herself. "A friend of Diep." Hung muttered, his voice hoarse. He reached for his bamboo pipe, taking a long drag. Thick white smoke exhaled, obscuring a face full of hidden burdens. Just then, the dogs outside began barking furiously. Headlights swept through the cracks in the door, casting a long streak of light across the peeling wall. Tuan ran to peek through the gap and cheered, "Dad, Mr. James is here. He's back." Mr. Hung sat as still as a stone statue. He knew he couldn't hide this time. The past had come knocking. James stepped into the house. His presence brought an oppressive aura dominating the cramped space. He was tall, wearing an expensive leather jacket, his polished leather shoes stained with a bit of mud. A stark contrast to Mr. Hung, the man huddled in ragged clothes by the fire. Tuan hurriedly pulled out a plastic chair with a broken leg to offer him. "Mr. James, please sit. My dad is home." James nodded in thanks to Tuan, but his eyes never left Mr. Hung. He didn't sit. He stood there, arms crossed, staring at the man, who was deliberately avoiding his gaze. "Hello, Mr. Hung," James began, his voice deep but commanding. Only then did Mr. Hung look up. The seasoned eyes of a man who had seen it all scrutinized James. "Who are you? What do you want? If you're here to ask for Diep's hand, I'll say this now she's grown. She decides for herself. I don't interfere." James gave a faint smile, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm not here to ask to marry Diep, and I know you don't care about her happiness anyway. I'm here for someone else." James stepped closer to the fire. He squatted down directly facing Mr. Hung, mere inches away. The firelight flickered across James's face, creating mysterious patches of light and shadow. I want to ask about Diep's mother, Mrs. Lan. The name Lan made Mr. Hung shudder, dropping the bamboo splint he was holding. He hurriedly bent down to pick it up, trying to hide his fluster. She left a long time ago. Died in a ditch somewhere, who knows. Why ask? Hung snapped, his voice trembling. No, Mr. Hung. James lowered his voice, hardening like cold steel. She didn't die in a ditch. My private investigator found clues. 5 years ago, she came back here. She met you. And after that meeting, she vanished without a trace. What happened that night? The air seemed to freeze. Tuan stood pressed against the corner of the room, looking fearfully at the two men. Mr. Hung glared at James. His initial fear turned into anger, the anger of a cornered beast. You! Don't you spout nonsense! Who the hell are you to interrogate me in my own house? You think just because you have money, you can do whatever you want. James didn't flinch. He pulled an old photograph from his chest pocket, a black and white photo of a young woman holding a baby girl with big round eyes. Diep has cried her tears dry because of this woman. She always thought she was a bad child, so her mother abandoned her. She has lived with that guilt for 20 years. Mr. Hung, you are her father. Do you have the heart to watch your daughter suffer forever? James's voice softened, sincere, but piercing. I see you trembling. What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of the truth being exposed, or are you trying to protect someone? Is it possible? She didn't leave because she wanted to, but because she was forced to. Mr. Hung stared at the photo. His calloused hands shook as he touched the face of the woman in the picture. A cloudy tear rolled down his gaunt cheek, falling into the ashes. You don't understand, Hung whispered, his voice cracking. The truth is far more cruel than you think. If Diep finds out why her mother left, it will kill her. She'd be better off believing she was abandoned than knowing this truth. James furrowed his brow. His heart pounded. His instincts screamed that he was touching a terrible secret. What truth, say it? No matter how cruel, Diep has the right to know. Mr. Hung snapped his head up, his wild eyes staring straight at James. He smashed the bamboo pipe to the ground with a loud crash. Fine. You want to know right? You want to be the hero saving the beauty? Huh. Let me tell you, her mother didn't leave because of another man. And she didn't leave because we were poor. Mr. Hung took a deep breath, as if summoning all the courage of his lifetime. She left to save Diep's life. The person who forced her to leave was... Boom! Thunder exploded right outside, signaling an unseasonal hailstorm about to unleash its fury. The lights in the house flickered and died. The shack plunged into pitch darkness, save for the glowing red embers of the fire staring like demon eyes. In the darkness, Mr. Hung's voice rang out, haunting and tragic, leaving the sentence hanging, sending a chill down James's spine. Who is the name Mr. Hung is about to utter? Why is the mother's departure linked to Diep's life? And James, with all his power and money, is he strong enough to shield Diep from the storm of the past that is crashing down? The dilapidated shack was swallowed by darkness, illuminated only by the dying red glow of the fire. Thunder still rumbled in the distance like a wounded beast, but inside this room, the silence between the two men was more terrifying than the storm. After Mr. Hung left the sentence hanging about the reason for the mother's departure, the air seemed to freeze solid. James sat opposite Mr. Hung. His eyes no longer held the commanding look of a successful businessman. Instead, they were filled with cautious scrutiny. He knew he was standing before a locked door of the past, and the key to opening it might hurt everyone, especially Diep. But James couldn't stop. He took a deep breath, the musty smell of old lime walls filling his nose, and decided to play the most important card he had kept hidden all evening. Mr. Hung. James spoke up, his voice low and slow, each word measured carefully, as if walking on thin ice. You've lived in this border region for a long time, and you've traveled for work. Do you know a man named Hoan? The name Hoan made Mr. Hung, who was staring down at the ashes, freeze instantly. His frail shoulders stiffened for a second. He looked up, squinting his cloudy eyes at James, as if trying to rummage through his aged memory for a figure buried by time. Hoan. Hung muttered, his hoarse voice laced with doubt. Is it that Mr. Hoan from the city, who used to drive trucks up here to buy precious wood, the one people rumored was filthy rich, who supposedly moved abroad later? James nodded, his gaze fixed unblinkingly on Mr. Hung. That's him. Mr. Hoan is my father. James's confession hit like a boulder thrown into a calm lake, sending violent ripples through the weathered old man's eyes. Mr. Hung stared at James from head to toe, then back at his face. He seemed to be searching for familiar features. No wonder the moment you walked in, I felt your bearing, your mannerisms were so familiar. So you're Hoan's son. That explains it. Mr. Hung let out a short, bitter laugh, full of sarcasm. He reached for his pipe, but his hands shook so badly he couldn't light it. James quietly extended his lighter, lighting it for him. In the flare of the flame, James saw the bitterness clearly etched on that wrinkled face. James waited for Mr. Hung to finish his puff, then continued, his voice trembling with anxiety. My father rarely mentioned his time here, but I found a few old keepsakes. Mr. Hung, please tell me the truth. My father, Mr. Hoan, and Mrs. Ly Tu Diep's mother, did they have any connection in the past? This question was James's biggest nightmare. Since the investigation began, vague clues kept leading him to a terrifying hypothesis he dared not name. Mr. Hung exhaled smoke into the air, the thick white cloud drifting lazily up to the soot-blackened roof. He was silent for a very long time, so long James thought he wouldn't answer. Then he spoke, his voice sounding like an echo from a distant, painful memory. Yes, Hung admitted, his voice heavy. Not just acquaintances. Back then, everyone in this town knew. Your father and Diep's mother, when they were young, they were madly in love. A talented man and a beautiful woman. One was a city gentleman trading wood, the other the beauty of the mountains. They were inseparable like lovebirds, always together. The villagers thought a wedding was imminent. James's heart pounded in his chest. His ears rang. Then what? Why did they break up? Why? Hung chuckled dryly, staring into the void. That's life, kid. Birds of a feather flock together. Your father was a big businessman from a prestigious family. Diep's mother was just a poor girl. After a passionate time, your father disappeared. Heard his family forced him back to marry someone of equal status. Or he went abroad for business, I don't know. All I know is from that day on, Mr. Hoan never returned. Diep's mother, she was devastated. James clenched his fists tight. Had his father abandoned a woman here? But a more critical question tormented his mind. The timeline. When did that romance happen? Before or after Diep was born? If they were so madly in love, could Diep be? James dared not finish the thought. He tried to keep his voice as steady as possible. So, Diep's mother only married you after my father left. Mr. Hung nodded, but it was a reluctant nod. Yeah, I truly loved her back then. I'm a local rough and country but honest. Seeing her suffer, I stayed by her side to take care of her. Eventually, she agreed to become my wife. Then Diep was born. James swallowed hard, his throat dry as dust. He wanted to ask, is Diep your biological daughter? But he knew asking that right now was too cruel and dangerous. He steered the conversation back to the reason he came here. Mr. Hung, earlier you said Diep's mother left to save her. But tell me the truth. Is she still alive? Please be honest. Diep has suffered enough. She needs the truth, no matter how painful. The old man, huddled by the fire, let out a long, heavy sigh. A sigh carrying the burden of over a decade of secrets. He looked straight into James's eyes, his gaze no longer evasive, but filled with helplessness. She is alive. Those 3 words were spoken lightly, but they sent a shiver down James's spine. She isn't dead. Mr. Hung continued, his voice monotonous as if talking about a stranger. But I told Diep her mother went missing, or maybe died in a ditch for her own good. You ask why? Because the truth is more painful than death. Mr. Hung threw another log onto the fire. The flames flared up, illuminating the deep wrinkles etched on his face. She left, out of greed. She was tired of the poverty in this leaky shack. She was tired of a rough husband who only knew the forest like me. Back then, another man came from the city, wealthy, promising her the world. She packed up and left with him, abandoning Diep, who was red-faced and screaming for milk. I hate her! Mr. Hung's voice suddenly rasped with resentment. I hate that ungrateful woman. That's why I hid it from Diep. I'd rather she think her mother was kidnapped, had an accident, or even died, than know her mother was a gold digger who abandoned her child for money. I didn't want her growing up with hatred for her own mother in her heart. Do you understand? James fell silent. The story sounded plausible, a familiar script for family tragedies. But the intuition of a businessman told James that Mr. Hung was still hiding something. There was something strange in his eyes when he mentioned the wealthy man. Could that man have anything to do with his father? Recently, Mr. Hung lowered his voice, looking thoughtful. I heard rumors from some traveling traders. They said they saw someone who looked exactly like her living in the city. Heard she's struggling too, not living the high life she imagined. It's all karma. The city, James pressed. Do you know the specific address, or at least the area? Mr. Hung shook his head vigorously. I don't know, and I don't want to know. To me, she's dead. James checked his watch. It was very late. The information today was both overwhelming and vague. Half the truth had been exposed, but the other half remained buried in darkness. Diep's mother is alive. She used to love James's father. And currently, she was somewhere in the city where James lived and worked. Everything seemed to be spinning around a cruel axis of fate. James stood up, brushing the dust off his pants. Thank you for telling me all this. Anyway, Diep is living a good life. She's a strong and kind girl, nothing like what you fear. James hesitated for a moment, then continued sincerely. Diep is living in a rental near my wood workshop, only about a 2-hour drive from here. If you want, I can take you to visit her right now, or tomorrow works too. It's been years since you two met. I'm sure Diep misses you a lot. No matter how angry you are at her mother, Diep is still your daughter. James's offer made the room fall silent. Tuan, the younger brother sitting in the corner, looked up at his father with hope. He wanted to visit his sister too, but Mr. Hung lowered his head, avoiding the gaze of both James and Tuan. He fidgeted with the hem of his torn shirt, clearly flustered and embarrassed. Maybe another time, he mumbled. I have things to do later. Some friends invited me to check out a new batch of wood. Besides, what would I say to her now? Look at me, like this, ragged. I'm afraid I'll embarrass her in front of her friends. It was a clumsy refusal. James realized it immediately. Mr. Hung wasn't busy. He was running away. He was terrified of facing Diep. Why would a father be so afraid to meet his own daughter? Was it just shame over poverty? Or was he afraid Diep would ask questions he dared not answer? "All right, it's up to you." James didn't push. He pulled a stack of cash from his wallet, placing it gently on the chipped coffee table. "Here's a small gift for you and Tuan. Please use it to take care of the house. Whenever you want to visit Diep, just call me and I'll send a car to pick you up." James turned and walked out the door. The rain had stopped, but the cold wind still howled. He climbed into his massive pickup truck, slamming the door shut, separating the artificial warmth inside from the desolate cold of the dilapidated house. Sitting in the car, James didn't start the engine right away. He rested his head on the steering wheel, breathing heavily. Fragmented pieces of the puzzle danced in his mind. His father, Mr. Hoan. Diep's mother, Mrs. Lan. An unfinished love affair from the past. A mysterious departure. And Diep's existence. James looked up at the rearview mirror, staring into his own eyes. Then he looked at the photo of Diep he always kept on the dashboard. A chilling sensation ran down his spine. If, just if, Mr. Hung isn't Diep's biological father. If Diep is the result of that talented man and beautiful woman romance years ago between his father and Mrs. Lan, then he and Diep, wouldn't they be half-siblings? The thought terrified James. He loved Diep. That love was growing stronger every day, shifting from compassion to profound affection. But if a cruel twist of fate turned the woman he loved into his sister, it would be the greatest tragedy of his life. James started the engine. The roar of the motor shattered the silence of the poor neighborhood. The pickup truck sped off into the night, leaving behind the house full of lies. James drove frantically, as if trying to outrun the speculations in his head. But he knew he couldn't run forever. Tomorrow he would have to return to the city. He would have to find Mrs. Lan. Only she could answer the question tormenting his soul right now. Where is she in that city of millions? And what is the truth about the blood flowing in Diep's veins? Dear viewers, the story of James and Diep is entering a dark, fateful turning point. Will their love survive the ghosts of the past? Or will they be crushed by the cruel truth of their identities? Don't take your eyes off the screen, because the most terrifying secrets are still waiting ahead. Hit that subscribe button to join James in finding the answer in the next dramatic episode.